Another person who has a great take on all of this is Ben Shapiro. The conservative intellectual has some very smart ideas when it comes to the Georgia law banning individuals from voluntarily giving someone a drink of water while they wait in line to vote. Much smarter take than what Brian Kilmeade or the girl on Fox and Friends has to say, I'm sure, right? He's got to be. He's the smart one, isn't he? Let's hear what Ben Shapiro, where is this clip? What Ben Shapiro, did I not grab the Ben Shapiro clip? Oh, come on. I didn't grab the Ben. Oh, here it is. Okay, let's hear what Ben Shapiro has to say. Let me fast forward it to the really ridiculous part.
Boxes where people could just stuff the ballot box or take ballots out of the ballot box? It hands state officials more power over local elections. Even before the legislation passed, many voters of color in Georgia faced hours-long queues at the polls. By the way, voter suppression doesn't involve long lines.
Let me go back to being in this clip. Let me address all this stuff.
Jim Crow explicitly created a separate system of law for black Americans and treated them as inferior. There's nothing in the law like that. That's not only an overstatement, it's just an outright lie. But, says Jamel Hill, all of corporate America should resonate to the lie. The law imposes new voter identification requirements for absentee ballots. Well, clearly that's racist. I mean, you mean you have to show that you are who you say you are when you vote absentee?
I mean, it is because it's actually extremely hard for certain people who live in certain areas to get voter IDs. I mean, if you are someone who doesn't drive, for example, you don't have a driver's license, you need to go out and get a voter ID. If you are an elderly woman or man living in a rural area, and how are you going to go to a government building to get an ID? It's going to take time you may not have, ability to get there, which you may not have. I mean, this isn't something that's out of the ordinary. And the fact is that a lot of black Americans have issues getting voter ID. Government ID.
If you can explain to me how that's racist, I'm willing to hear it. Anyone?
Told you.
Bueller?
If I was there in the room, I could have
It
told
limits
you.
the use of ballot drop boxes.
I would have told you.
Oh, you mean like ballot drop boxes where people could just stuff the ballot box or take ballots out of the ballot box?
That doesn't happen. I mean, you're acting like that's something that usually happens, but you're talking about a hypothetical scenario. You're talking about a what if. That if it has happened, the number of cases where it has happened is so minuscule that it's not even like one of the main worries of voting and things that could possibly happen concerning voting. I mean, you're just looking for random shit to complain about here.
It hands state officials more power over local elections. Even before the legislation passed, many voters of color in Georgia faced hours-long queues at the polls. By the way, voter suppression doesn't involve long lines.
It does, because if there's lines, the lines are purposefully long in certain areas. For example, areas in the country where the demographics are majority black people. Where a rural area where, say, there's only one place to vote within like a who knows, 50, 100-mile radius. Who knows? I'm using an example here. That's purposeful. And when you are making it difficult for people to vote, that's voter suppression, because some people will want to vote but just can't wait around because they have jobs or they have things to get to, or I don't know, say they're getting thirsty and it's illegal in your state to give someone who's waiting in line to vote a bottle of water to drink. You know, they'll leave the line. You know, that's what happens, and that's voter suppression, buddy.
Any more than long lines at Disneyland are ride suppression. You know what voter suppression is? Voter suppression is where you don't get to vote.
That's what happens.
Making those waits even more arduous, the new law bans giving food and water to people in line to vote. That's not even true. It bans giving any gift to people in line when they are within 150 feet of the polling place. You can bring water with you. There are people outside who can give you water. This is just not true.
No. It is true. Like the bringing water. Yeah, if you bring water, that's fine. But you don't know how long you're going to be waiting at the poll. You bring a bottle of water, you drink it. you're still there for another 4, 5, 6 hours. You're still thirsty again. If a volunteer gives you water, they can be charged with giving you a gift to sway your vote. And let's get to the absurd point, the Fox and Friends point here, the analogy with the Yankee Stadium that the Fox and Friends folks made. Here, Ben Shapiro makes the analogy with waiting in line at Disneyland. Well, my friend, I have some bad news for you. Included with your admission to Disneyland, when you go there, you have the ability to actually skip those lines. You don't have to wait because you are able to go to your phone. There's an app, log into the Disney World or Disneyland app, and they call this service FastPass. You can book a time on a ride. And then when it hits that specific time that you booked, you go to that ride and you can go past the entire line, and you're basically fast tracked to the front of the line, and you get to go right on whatever ride it is. So, Ben Shapiro, if you're advocating for some sort of system where voters can actually book a time slot and go in and just go vote at that time without waiting online, I think it's possibly a very good idea. If you're advocating for that, which I highly doubt you're purposely advocating for, but if that's what you're advocating for, man, anything that makes it easier for people to vote, I'm all for. And if the voting rights experts say that that's something that would crack down on voter suppression and help more people vote, let's do that. I'm all for a fast pass for voting. Sign me up. You guys like my